Welcome into the FutureSox RoundUp. My name is Elijah Evans, joined as always by my co-host Dylan Barnas. We are back. I'm fired up today. We're feeling good. It's a good time of year. We're rolling into the heat of the baseball season right now. This is when it gets real. I think when you turn the corner into July is about when baseball season starts to feel like it's really building up. It's time for trade deadline season, All-Star, draft. The draft season is getting hot right now. This is the heat of the topic with the College World Series ending yesterday or 2 days ago. Now it's really time to kick it in gear with college ball turning into draft talk turning into deadline talk, and then from there we just see where it all goes. It's an exciting time to be, just rolling with baseball, and then we're back to talk all about it, man. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm great, and I just want to get this off the bat first. Congratulations on the Just Baseball promotion.
Thank you, my
You're
friend.
doing a lot of good stuff over there at JB. If you haven't already watched the podcast with Elijah, the Call Up Pod, it just dropped today, actually, his first episode with them. So he's doing a lot of great stuff, but I'm doing great. You're doing great. Baseball season is fun, and we're starting to, like you said, get into some really fun times in the baseball world, especially for us, the prospect gurus.
100%. I appreciate that shout, man. I'm excited. It's cool. I mean, for me, being 2 weeks out of graduating college, and here I am full working in baseball, and it's a pretty awesome opportunity. I'm excited for it. I think it's a cool time, and it gives me the chance to really just dive in even further into this world and just keep chugging at it, because this is the game that you and I both love, and many other people that follow us and watch us, and then that's what it's all about. It's all it comes down to. So yeah, I'm
Yes, sir.
excited. Before we get into our main topics today, we're going to talk through some of the top performers, and then we're going to talk through just our top 30, going through some guys that have been rising, some guys that have been falling within our top prospects in the system. Before we get into that, I just saw it in the comments. Let's talk a little bit of MLB draft. James and Ian had an awesome episode that everybody should check that out with Bert. It was really good insight on just the where the White Sox are with the draft, what they're looking at. I feel like everything points to the White Sox taking a high school hitter at this point. That's where all the indications we have had are. At the same time, you never know what happens in the draft. Nobody until the day of expected Hagen Smith going to the White Sox last year, and here we are with Hagen Smith in the White Sox organization right now. So where are you at right now? If you had to pick your realistic, let's not go Ethan Holiday or Ave Arquette, right?
Right.
Like that'd be great, sure. Your realistic possibilities. Who are the 2 or maybe 3 guys that you would be ecstatic if the White Sox walk away with that 10th overall pick in the draft?
I think the top two are both prep shortstops in the two guys that Vincent mentions right here, Billy Carlson and JoJo Parker. I have them flipped. I have Parker 1 and Carlson 2, but ideally, if you get one of those two guys, I think it's an A-plus draft, because those two guys are at least A-plus in terms of like first round pick, but those two guys are very clearly the cream of the crop in terms of high school shortstops. Parker has a bit of question marks on defense. I'm not sure if he sticks at short long term, but it's similar in like the Colson Montgomery saga where, people thought he was too big. He sort of like proved him wrong. He's still at short. I think him being at short in AAA, not a lot of people were expecting that. But Billy Carlson is probably the best shortstop defender in the class. He's a guy where you can stick him at shortstop and know that he's going to stick there for his entire minor league career and even into the majors. And then another one that I want to give some love to is Jamie Arnold. I think that there is a possibility.
You really think there's a chance he
I
falls?
think there's
I
a
know he's falling
possibility.
a bit. I don't think he's going. It seems like he's falling into that middle of that top 10 range. But if he
I
falls,
let me
huh?
clarify. I don't think that he should get to
Yeah,
10. I think that there's a possibility that he does get to 10. I think that he should go top 5, like slam dunk. But we know how weird the draft is, and especially the teams that are picking above 10, they tend to do some weird things. I could see them
for
taking
sure.
an underslot guy, and he ends up falling to 10. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm just saying
Interesting.
it's a possibility.
That would be fascinating. The Sox, I think, would have a hard time passing on Arnold because
Yeah.
he's not quite the same archetype as the lefties the Sox have been targeting, but a quick moving pitcher that's a college guy with that experience, left-hander that has succeeded. The White Sox have loved their left-handers in the
Right.
system, right? Like that's a guy you could see being, I mean, could that be your 5th starter to add to the core of guys in 2027? Like, yeah, I
It
think
would be
so,
very
right?
fun.
Like it would be interesting. I don't think he falls, but it's interesting. Oh my god, this is a whole crazy explanation going on here in the chat. So I don't know about that one, but I like the first two you mentioned. I think that Carlson or in that spot, I think Carlson or Parker would be excellent. I mean, trusting my guy Tyler Jennings, who runs all of our draft coverage at Just Baseball, he was on the show a few weeks ago with James and
Yeah.
Ian. on
Great
his
stuff.
draft board, he's got Parker at 7 and Carlson at 8 in terms of the draft
Yeah.
talent, right? Like if you can
Yeah.
walk away with a top 10 talent that's a prep shortstop with the type of upside of those guys, I feel pretty good about that. All things
Yeah.
considered, I think that'd be awesome. I mean, there's other guys I like for sure. I think there's
Oh,
other,
me too. Me too.
and I think there's plenty of other guys. I think if pitching ended up being the route, I wouldn't mind a Kyson Witherspoon. I do like his profile. I do think he's
Yeah.
going to be a good big league pitcher. I don't think it's quite the right pick for the White Sox, though, at the end of the day. Ike Irish is another one I've seen floated a little bit. Irish is a guy who used to caught, and I think he's shifting to the outfield. I wouldn't love it. I don't love any of that. I really just I don't really want a college player, honestly. Like I know that's like so
Yeah.
like maybe just too simplistic, but at the same time, like,
I get it.
really like I like the idea of a prep hitter. This is a generally weaker college draft class. I think there's a lot of prep hitters with a lot of intriguing tools, some upside there. If all of those guys we mentioned are maybe off the board, I think a Kyson Cunningham could be in play, and I think a Steele Hall we've heard referenced.
Yeah,
in
Steele Hall is a big one.
Sox as well. Tools out guy. I think Steele Hall's the twitchy athlete kind of step type of profile, right? Where it's super young. He's 17 and he's going to be 17 on draft day still, I believe. So it's like that's one of those high upside guys. Merrick Houston, somebody mentioned in the comments. I'm good there personally. I get I can see the vision, and that was somebody they talked about on the pod yesterday, and I see something there with Houston. I personally think that this team needs to be getting someone with a high-end offensive profile, upside at least, right? With Carlson, you have that, super high-end power potential elite defensive guy, right? With Parker, you have probably the best hit tool of any high school prospect and the ability to be an elite hit tool type of guy, right? So you've got those elite traits with those guys where I like that type of route if I'm picking for the White Sox in this spot.
Yeah, especially with the type of talent that is in next year's college class, I think that you would want to add a high school. It doesn't even have to be a bat. If you are in love with Seth Hernandez and he somehow falls to 10,
if he falls, sure,
take him. But if you can get a high school bat to supplement the sort of like second core after this one that's coming up, then that's fine, because then you're probably going to be picking top 3 next year, assuming the lottery goes right. You can take Drew Burris, AJ Gracia, Rock Chalowski, like those 3 guys.
There's a ridiculous crop of those hitters next year's beginning of the draft next year. It's crazy. Okay, one more thing I want to get to before we keep going on this part. Do you have any names you like at 44? Because I've just started the past few weeks to really get into the stuff enough where I have some ideas for the second round now. Anybody that you have, and the second round's so hard to predict because we can look at 10 and say, okay, there's 15 guys that could go 1 through 9. We have a general idea. 44, there's no clue. I mean, you could see a ridiculous amount of guys soar up the board. You could see guys drop. Like, you really have no idea what the board looks like at 44. Without the board in consideration here, anybody you like at 44, just your initial kind of thinking about that possible range?
I love Jaden Fauske. He's a local guy. He's from
not falling. No chance.
Praying that he does.
I hope he does, but no chance.
Yeah.
I
love Fauske. I think that if he gets to the second, I think that we don't even wait for the other team to finish announcing their pick. You run the card up and you don't even think about it. You can figure
100%.
out you can figure out financials later. But in terms of like guys that probably are going to be there in the second. We saw a lot of Taden Gray hype at the combine. He's a catcher who can run really well for his position and has a ton of power. He sort of turned everybody's heads around when I think he went like 115, 113, something like that in exit velos in the batting cage. But yeah, he's got big time power. He's a big dude. He's like 6'5". Like he is built like a defensive lineman, and he could be a bit of a reach at 44. I'm not sure. Like there's a possibility that he could be there in the third, but if you're not sure, I could see him being the pick at 44. I know that there's a bit of connections between the two, between the Sox and Gray. It's really hard to predict like second and third round on
and high school especially. It's really tough. Yeah, it's very tough there. Slight note on Fauske. I played travel ball throughout my life with the guys who are the sons of the head coach at Nazareth Academy. Shout out the Milano family, great family, good people. So I've been hearing about Fauske for a couple of years now. I heard about him when he was a sophomore, and one of my buddy was telling me, hey, this guy's legit, and I was like, okay, I looked at his numbers, they were nasty. The swing was really pretty, and then this past year it was like he's just been rising and rising and rising. Everything I've heard is that he's going comp A probably at the latest.
That's
I think it'd be hard for him to go past that. So a couple other guys I like. If the White Sox go high school, which I assume they will, the first round, we're leaning. It seems that direction.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a Brandon Compton, ASU guy.
He's on my list too.
The exit velos are nuts. It's definitely a bit of a swing that'll need to be hashed out. But if you're going to go high school early and you want to go college next with another bat, I like the difference in kind of profile of a upside high school guy and a high exit velo, somewhat riskier swing of a college guy there in that second round. Definitely one that I have on my list for that pick. There's a handful of others. Corbin Dickerson, if he falls, Indiana outfielder. I think he's actually one of my favorite outfielders in the class, considering it's a pretty weak outfield class, all things considered. Both those guys are two guys that are their outfield spots. I think Compton maybe slides to first eventually, but hopefully could stick in a corner. Seems like he could stick in a corner. So both those guys being corner outfielders that I would definitely like at that pick. If you want to go arms, plenty of other options in terms of arms there. JB Middleton is one who I've heard nothing but good things about. On the episode yesterday, they mentioned really positive reviews about Middleton. If you want to go the high school route, Jack Bauer is stuffed up to the brim, right? A lot of risk there, but definitely the stuff. A lot of options there. I'm excited. I love draft season, and it's really just the last 2 years I've started to get into the draft. It wasn't something I followed growing up as much as minors and as pros. So for me, the draft is fun now, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the White Sox use their money to the best of their ability. But yeah, that's what I got so far. We're going to have more draft coverage here in the next week or two for sure.
100%. And I want to give one more. I don't know if you said him, Cam Appenzeller. He's another local left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's from down south in Illinois, Glenwood. I don't know where he's going. I could see him going comp A, maybe.
Our JB board's got him at 30 overall, so that's pretty high
so
for him.
I could see him going before 44, but if he's there, he's a perfect mold for what the White Sox want to develop. He's very similar to, a Noah Schultz, Blake Larson, left-handed pitcher with a ton of risk, ton of upside, and, hopefully they can develop another 100%. Lefty.
Yeah, I don't always agree with Mr. Uncle Ted, but I do love this. If Mason Neville somehow fell to the second, that would be an awesome get. I think he goes probably late first or so is what I've seen for him. So pretty unlikely he falls to 44, but would be a really nice pick there if that was to be the case. So we'll definitely get into more draft talk soon. That'll be exciting. But let's flip it over to the White Sox side of things for now, the current White Sox, not the guys who might be on the team in the future. Let's talk through some top performers, and then we'll get into our top 30 discussion because I'm excited to talk to you about top 30 because we see a lot of things eye to eye, but we've also got some differences in the way we rank guys right now. So I'm excited to get into that. But top performers lately, starting in Charlotte, what are we doing with Brooks Baldwin in AAA, man? Can somebody explain this to me? If somebody's got an answer in the comments, I don't know if Dylan's got an answer. Like, what is Brooks Baldwin doing in Charlotte? I just don't get it. I mean, this is his past 8 games in Charlotte, hitting 448 with a 1460 OPS, 4 homers. He's not striking out. He's walking. He's playing in the outfield. He's getting those reps in. Like I get there's the slight angle I can imagine is the trying to develop his positional ability in the outfield a little bit further. Sure, but this, it's not like this team is competing. I'm fine seeing Brooks Baldwin make a couple mistakes in the outfield. It is what it is, right? Or seeing him test out third base a little more, seeing him test out second base. He's not going to be a star player for this team. I get that, and I think that is the reality with Brooks Baldwin's profile, with the style of a player he is. Definitely still kind of figuring, more stuff out. But, he's a good player. He's going to be at least a big league utility piece. And right now, you've got guys getting everyday at bats that aren't as good as Brooks Baldwin and aren't going to be part of the future. So, I'm just ready to see it, personally. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's doing down there. I mean, I don't know what they expect to see more from him. Like you said, a 1,400 OPS in his last 8 games. You can't do much better than that. And sure, if they want to develop him as a future center fielder after Luis Robert gets traded at the deadline, fine. But give him some playing time in the big leagues. We've seen the revolving door of outfielders that you hope you can trade in Michael A. Taylor, Austin Slater, Mike Tauchman. Sure, fine, but let's get Brooks up there. There's no need for Vinny Capra, Ryan Noda, even Josh Rojas. You're probably not getting anything for him at the deadline, so just cut bait, move on, and just give me some Brooks Baldwin. Not even it. I would hope that to God that he gets more than 3 pinch hit at bats in his inevitable call up in August. But it just makes no sense what they want him to do, and then once they call him to the big leagues, he's not used at all. So
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I don't see it. I don't really get it. I think he will be back up at some point, but at this point, like, I mean, just shout out to him continuing to rake in Charlotte. But
yeah,
I'm ready to see it at the next level for sure.
yeah.
Noah Schultz debut last week. We tried out the little live stream. The audio was a little rough, but we got a Tony La Russa shout, which was awesome.
Yeah.
It popped in the podcast. Jeff did a really good job. Everybody should definitely check out on FutureSox.net. Jeff Cohen did a write up from that. He took the minimal audio we got from Tony and did a write up on some of his remarks. Really cool to first of all just get to talk to Tony La Russa. Give it regardless of the context, and also just see what's going on there with him, and just get to hear, be it Noah Schultz's first start and see what was happening there. The results were not great, but honestly, Schultz is still, and to me, was a good debut. We got to get StatCast data on him. He's a stud. The stuff looks pretty good overall. There's nothing I'm concerned about with Schultz. At the end of the day, like him being healthy all season, continuing to make 5-6 inning starts, like I'm all for it. And at this point, now that he's in Charlotte, I do think he will debut later this season.
Yeah, I think that there wasn't anything that I saw in his AAA debut that we didn't see in AA the entire year. Because the zone was a bit wide at times, but it's umpires make mistakes, and even now with the ABS system that he has in AAA, I think that's going to benefit him, because we saw more often than not he was getting squeezed by AA umpires. And now that he or the catcher can challenge that, I think that's we're gonna start to see his walk rate sort of tick down. I'm not saying it's going to go down to 5% or anything, but I think that we're going to see a lot better command and control from Noah. And then eventually, once he adds that cutter back in, I think we're going to start to see him really boost the strikeout numbers, because that's a big bridge pitch from his sinker to his slider curveball. StatCast was tagging it as a curveball. It's more of like a
swerve.
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever it is, the breaking ball that he has, the cutter is gonna be able to blend those two pitches together and just make both perform a tick better.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with the cutter, because Bannister had a really good analysis on kind of why they had diverted from it a little bit, and now you see him getting up to AAA and still not throwing it. So I'm curious if that'll get added back in the mix. One positive note is the changeup looked pretty good. I actually thought the changeup, metrically and just visually watching it in that Charlotte debut, looked pretty solid from Schultz. And he didn't throw it a ton. I think he threw it 8 times maybe in that game, but getting to mix that in and starting to see more of that and see how that plays up at the AAA level is going to be interesting, because I do think as Schultz gets, continues to develop, that pitch needs to be at least a change of pace pitch. It doesn't need to be a frequent usage pitch, but it needs to be something he can trust to change the pace a little bit for guys.
Right. And, he's never going to be somebody like Seth Lugo, where he's got 9 different pitches and, he can move the ball however he wants. Right. But his sinker breaking ball combo is good enough, but then having that changeup off of that to sort of look like a sinker, and then it's in the back of your mind saying it's 2 strikes. He's gonna throw me a breaking ball. He's got a changeup in his bag too. So it's definitely good to see the development of that pitch, because it wasn't really there when he got drafted, and I think he was mainly sinker breaking ball.
Yeah, this is a question from Adrian, our guy who does some great coverage for us at FutureSox, on if Schultz is a candidate to try a new pitch. I don't really think he needs to. Where I'm at with him is he's got this. There could be one, but from his archetype, the sinker breaking ball is going to be there, right? You can reincorporate the cutter at times. You've got the changeups coming along, and then he does have a four seam that he'll rip off sometimes to try and beat guys high in the zone, right? So I think his arsenal is fine. I just think it's going to be a continual effort to sequence and to adjust to the hitting level for Schultz, where he can really maximize his stuff by sequencing and adjusting the way that he uses it. But I think the stuff is good. I think we're going to start to see some really solid starts from him. And at the end of the day, the numbers for him this season are not as important as his health and his innings buildup and his arm just getting back to its best place possible. I think Noah Schultz is going to be good. I think he'll debut later. I think he'll debut in September. I think he'll get whether it's, the bullpen thing for a handful or a month, or whether it's 4 starts, right? It could be either direction. I think I could see it going either way, but the plan is for Noah Schultz to be in the White Sox rotation in 2026, and that is very clear by everything that has been done and said over the past year and a half. That's been the plan, in my opinion, for a year now, right? I think since he got up to Birmingham last year and looked amazing, the plan then became how do we course him out to have him in Chicago in 2026 and be a rotation-capable piece in Chicago? It's not just let's get Noah to the big leagues. It's let's get Noah to the big leagues in our rotation in 2026. Like that is the
Right.
aim here. So everything that's done here in the next few months is about that eventual aim with Schultz.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a Grant Taylor situation where they're monitoring his innings, but he's also not good. He's also too good for the level. So then he's like, okay, I'm going to be wasting bullets in
Right.
AAA or AA. So you have to bring him up. Like, no, Noah Schultz is a starter, and he's been stretched out. He pitched into the
Yep.
sixth inning for, I think it was like the third time in his minor league career on
Yep.
Thursday in his AAA debut. So like he's going to be a starter, and it's just a matter of time before we see him in the rotation, whether it be in September or whether it be in March of next year. Like we are going to see him in the rotation in less than a year.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get on to Birmingham. Some fun pitching in Birmingham, man.
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely some fun pitching in Birmingham the past couple weeks. We've got a number of guys. We'll start with Tanner McDougal, and we're going to talk about him a little later this episode as well. We're going to get to that. The number, like the ERA number, doesn't look as pretty because McDougal had this sixth inning. He comes out and he struggles a little bit. Before that, Tanner McDougal's first 5 innings of Double A ball,
Oh my God.
10 strikeouts. I mean, McDougal was sitting 98, 99 that start, absolutely shoving. The entire start was just, I mean, it got a little wobbly there in his last inning of work, but generally speaking, like that was about as impressive as stuff can look in your debut at the next level for a guy like McDougal.
Yeah, I was watching just the velo gun on all of his
Yeah.
pitches, and like it was 98, 98, 99, 98, 98, and it was he didn't tick down at all, even in the fifth inning and sixth inning when things started to go a little bit not his way. He was still 98 2, 99. Like it's not like McDougal is this guy who's going to throw hard for the first 3 innings of a game and then tick down 5 ticks. Like he's being able to sustain velo like that is a great sign for Tanner. And I mean, the walks are the big thing for me. The fact that those have seemingly vanished over the course of an offseason for a guy like Tanner is absolutely massive. Like if he can develop into what we think he can develop into, I mean, he's going to be a monster.
Yeah. I mean, this is a helium guy right now. We're going to talk about, when we talk about top 100, top 30, pardon me, risers, like this guy's as big of a riser as you can find in the system right now. And because, like, we've said this before, like, the stuff has been there for McDougal. It's never been a question. Where it gets tricky with prospect rankings, and the reason he was at the very end, if not even on our top 30 at the beginning of the season, is it's hard when you have this fatigue aspect of, he's been in the organization for 4 years now. He was drafted in 2021 out of high school and has had a lot of ups and downs. He's coming off of his worst season in the minor leagues last year where he really struggled in high A. This year, we heard nothing but good things coming out of spring training from him. I talked to multiple guys, and it was Tanner McDougal, keep an eye out. Tanner McDougal, keep an eye out. And I was like, okay, we've seen this stuff before, but like, where is that next step? That next step is here and then some this season. It has been really, really fun to watch McDougal work and just see the way he's developed. If he can keep that walk rate at 10%, I mean, if it's less than that, great. But even if it's at 8 to 10% compared to last year when it was at, I think 15%, right? Like if Tanner McDougal can be a under 10% walk rate guy with the stuff that he flashed in Birmingham, watch out. This guy's on a rocket ship up the system right now, and a great Double A debut for him, and I'm excited to see kind of where it goes from there. Speaking of Double A debuts, Lucas Gordon. Lucas Gordon makes his way to Double A. Birmingham takes Noah Schultz spot in that rotation, and Lucas Gordon's debut in Birmingham was also excellent. Lucas Gordon tossed 6 innings of 1 hit, no run, no walk, 9 strikeout ball. I didn't expect this good of stuff from Gordon. Honestly, I really didn't. I think Gordon's a guy who we thought would breeze through kind of the lower levels a little bit because he was experienced, SEC guy, right? Coming out of college last year, he's 22 or 23 years old now, right? So had kind of made his way through the system over the past year and a half. But Lucas Gordon looks like a certified top 30 prospect in the system right now, the way he's pitching, and a Double A debut of 1 hit, no walks, 9 strikeouts to start his career. And yeah, I mean, it was very impressive from Gordon. I didn't get to watch all that start, but even just watching the highlights of him, like he just mixes, he matches, he finds his spot, and he just commands the zone like not many pitchers do at this level.
Yeah, between the 98-99 of Tanner McDougal, Lucas Gordon is the antithesis of that. He's not going to blow you away with a fastball elevated. He's going to hit his spots. He's going to dot up, and he knows that he's going to put a pitch where you can't hit it, or it's going to be very uncomfortable for you to hit it. And, we saw it in his debut. I mean, 9 strikeouts for a guy like Gordon is awesome because he's not a big strikeout pitcher. He's a guy that's going to pitch weak contact, and if he misses bats, then he misses bats. But like he was getting a ton of whiffs in I forget what day it was. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Something. It was a middle week start, but yeah, he looked really good. Friday, yeah. But yeah, he looked really good, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the Southern League because pitchers like him tend to do really well in the Southern League, where it's a very pitcher dominant league, and a guy like Gordon can sort of just carve up.
Yeah, I mean, it was just good. It was just dotted stuff. Outside corner, he loves against right-handers. Just finds a way to mix and match as well as he can. And it was just very good stuff from Gordon in his first start. So, a guy that I really hasn't been super on the radar in terms of prospect pedigree, and it continues to just get better and better this season. So, very awesome 2 AA debuts from McDougal and Gordon this past week, and that makes that Birmingham rotation that much more exciting to watch. Now with Schultz being in Charlotte, of course, there's 2 guys now in that rotation now that we're going to be keeping an eye on, and a couple other guys to shout in that Birmingham rotation. Don't have to spend too much time on them, but Shane Murphy continues to just get outs. Shane Murphy can be in Charlotte for all I care. I think it's cool. I'd like to see him in Charlotte. 24-year-old guy, being a 2022 draft pick. Like I would love to see what Shane Murphy looks like at the next level, just to keep seeing how it progresses for him. Zach Franklin has been pretty nails all season out of the bullpen. One guy that I don't think gets quite enough attention, right? As a bullpen guy, bullpen guys are never going to get a ton of love, but one of your Mizzou guys, right? Like 26 years old, like Zach Franklin, like I'm cool with seeing Zach Franklin in the bigs this year personally. I don't know about you, but I mean, like I said, there's all these bullpen guys, like 42 strikeouts in 28 innings this year. Like I'm good with that. Zach Franklin's last, I mean, take a shot on this. I saw this and I was like, okay, this kind of perked my notice a little bit. Zach Franklin's last 4 1/3 innings, his last 4 outings. How many strikeouts? 4 1/3 innings.
So 4 1/3. That's 13 possible strikeouts. I'm gonna go 8.
11.
Oh boy.
11 of Franklin's last 13 outs recorded have been strikeouts, and only 2 walks in that span. The guy's just continuing to shove at that level. He's been doing it all season. I mean, he's got an under a 2 ERA in AA this year. Like Zach Franklin should be in Chicago or Charlotte ASAP for sure. So another guy to shout out there in that pitching staff in general. Just a very solid pitching staff. There's guys up and down in Birmingham that are pretty fun to watch right now. We'll head over to Winston, though. When I was watching Tanner McDougal start, I was also watching Christian Opper start, which was awesome.
Exactly what I was doing.
Christian Opper, I mean, that's just was I hope they stay on the same days right now, which they maybe will. That's just awesome White Sox baseball, beautiful pitchingness for me. I mean, I love, there's nothing better than 2 guys, stud pitchers at the same time, just being able to watch those guys work. Opper's finding his groove now in Winston. He's he's still going to take him some time, right? Like you got to remember, this guy pitched in the complex league and only threw 40 something innings last year. And now this year is already at, he's already at 41 innings on the season between Kannapolis, and he gets the bump to Winston after just 8 starts in Kannapolis or whatever. It's going to take a little time, but generally speaking, he's starting to find his himself and who he is as a pitcher at the next level now. And the stuff is still there. It looks good. The breaking ball was really good this week. And I think that Opper, another solid game in Winston where he'll finish out the year there. And I'm really excited to just see him keep working.
Yeah, he looked really good. I don't think that if you told me a year ago that Christian Opper would be pitching in Winston-Salem and pitching well in Winston, I would not have believed you because, I mean, he didn't really look that great. And the fact that he spent his entire first full season in the complex league. And, here we are less than a year later, and he's, I don't want to say dominating, but he's doing pretty well for a 20-year-old in high A right now.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree. I think it's fun to see. I think he's going to be a guy that, we're going to talk about in this top 100 talk real quick, but he's been great. Winston, not a ton of other guys to mention there. Fox has been good lately. Franklin Arias put together a couple nice starts this past week. Offensively, the last 15 days, it's Braden's been picking it back up. It's been nice to see that from him. Antonacci's been excellent as always. It's a guy who I mentioned him. I got to talk about him a little on the call, which was fun. Gave him a little shout there because Sam Antonacci remains the most underrated hitter in the system, in my opinion, and has been. And we've not underrated anymore, maybe because of how much we talk about him, but definitely still a guy to keep an eye on there. In Kannapolis, let's take a quick look in Canny. A couple guys, I think the biggest one of note in the past week or two is George Walkow, who's been really turning it up. I mean, looking at his slowed down a bit the past 2 days, but 9 hits in his past 9 games, 3 home runs in that span, 6 walks in that time frame. Walkow is really starting to show himself and show the developments he's made. And like, yeah, the start of the season was slow. Like he's 19 till the offseason. He's not even 19
Exactly.
till this coming January. Like there's a lot of time for Walkout to keep being the player that we think he can be, and it's nice to see those developments starting to show off for him in the past couple weeks.
Yeah, it was never going to be like a stat line season for Wolkow. Like I wasn't exactly I wasn't betting that he would hit 25 homers and bat 350. Like no, I was looking for him to develop and cut down the strikeouts and just look more like a polished hitter than he did last year.
Right.
And he's doing exactly that this year.
Yes.
You know, it was rough at the start of the season, like you said, but there was a lot of underlying stuff that like he was getting pretty unlucky. Like the strikeout rate was the lowest it had ever been in that size sample for Walkow. And you know now he's finally starting to get some luck on his side, and we're seeing him win Carolina Player of the Week and having monster weeks where he only strikes out 3 times and hits 3 homers. Like it's starting to come
100%.
together for Walkout, and if he can keep doing this, man, it's going to be really fun to watch him go up the system.
Yeah, it's he's rolling for sure. Lyle Miller Green and Miguel Santos mentioned in the comments, both those guys. Those are the other 2 guys who have been hitting it pretty well, seeing the ball pretty well here the past few weeks on the offensive side of things. LMG should be in Winston.
I don't know why he's not.
He's 25, 24 years old. Like I'm good to see LMG in Winston. He's hitting really well. Like the past 2 weeks, it's an 841 OPS. A couple homers, a couple doubles. Strikeout rate's still decently high, but he's walking at a pretty good clip. Like I'm good to see that so far. And then Miguel Santos is a guy who's pretty, minimally known name as an undrafted guy out of Dallas Baptist. 24 years old though, and has an 843 OPS in Kannapolis. That's 2 guys that I think you could easily send to Winston pretty much whenever at this point.
Yeah, and I think both of those guys will go to Winston once the crop of draftees comes in 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Or even just some ACL guys get a bump up.
Exactly.
Last guy to talk about in terms of recent performers, and then I want to get into our conversation on the top 30. Luis Reyes is an interesting guy who we're also going to talk about in the top 30. Luis Reyes is a 19-year-old guy who, last season was numbers-wise struggled in the ACL, but had really solid strikeout numbers and had showed kind of that upside that we were looking for. His past few starts have been really good, man. And he's starting to kind of figure out who he is as a pitcher, I think, and also just go deep. Like early in the season, the pitch counts are getting long on him. 2 of his last 3 starts have been 7-inning shutouts. Really impressive stuff from Luis Reyes. His past 3 starts his first 3 starts of June, 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, and then 7 innings, 4 hits again, no runs again. His last 3 starts in Kannapolis. 19 years old, Luis Reyes is someone that will make my top 30 for sure, and honestly could be someone that we keep seeing rise in a similar type of fashion to what we've seen from, Oppa or Aldrin Batista, some of these other guys in the past couple of years. I think that Luis Reyes is going to be a really interesting name to watch this second half of the season. He seems like he's just finding himself as a pitcher right now, and I'm excited to get into some numbers of his soon, hopefully.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch him throw. Like he's a guy he throws with such high effort, but he knows where it's going. Like his walk rate is under 10% on the year, and for a guy who has as much effort as he does in his delivery, to have a walk rate, I think it was like 8. It was around 9% when I looked.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah, but like he's got the stuff to absolutely dominate the lower levels like we're seeing, especially recently. And like he's still very young, dude. He's 19 years old. Like there's a lot to like in that profile, and we're only going to see more of it in the coming weeks and years.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is a little relievery to me on the delivery. I do get a little bit of whiffs of like this could be a reliever just based on the style of delivery and the way he pitches. But it's been really good. Fastball's high in the zone. He attacks guys. He's able to really ring it up the ladder. He's got some good movement, some good ride on his pitches. I think Luis Reyes is a guy that we're going to keep seeing, hopefully rise in the system and develop in the right way. And again, like you said, super young and a lot of time to still kind of see what he's got over the next couple years here potentially as he grows into himself as a pitcher.
Exactly.
All right, man. Let's do some top 30 talk. I know this is what we've been looking forward to talking about this. We will start with one thing, and then we'll get into some just these risers, these fallers, just kind of the general like who we think is moving up and down in the top 30. What I want to hear from you first. So Mydroth has graduated. Technically speaking, the main guys have not graduated yet. So the guys on the roster being. Caro did. Pardon me. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Caro graduated. Kyle Teal has not. Grant Taylor has not. Any of
Mhm.
the other guys in the Major League roster have not to this point. Right now, as things stand here on June 23rd, who are your top 5 prospects in the White Sox system?
So number one is still Noah Schultz. He was my number one preseason. I don't think that there's any reason for him to move down or have anybody move up ahead of him. I think that that's pretty clear. My number two, I was on him in the preseason. He was my number two then. He's still my number two now. Braden Montgomery. I've seen exactly what I thought I was going to see with Braden Montgomery this year, and I still believe in his sky high ceiling. I think that he could be up in the big leagues in 2026, and I wouldn't bat an eye. Number three was also my three preseason, Kyle Teal. I think that once I can't remember if I had Caro 4 or if I had Caro 5. I know that I had them very, very near each other, but if for me, it was like I just liked Teal's experience a little bit more. I think that he's older, but I think that he's got a little bit more polish behind the plate, and we're seeing that now. He's catching a lot more than Caro for whatever reason. But yeah, I think that seemed pretty self-explanatory. Hagen Smith bumps up one spot to 4 for me. He was 5 preseason, but with the amount of dominance that he had in his double A stint, he earned a bump up. And then Colson Montgomery just goes down one spot because the early season was rough, but he's started to turn a corner maybe after the swing change or after the Arizona stint that he had. But I think that that's a fair top 5. Would you agree?
I think it's fair. Mine's not quite the same, but I do think it's fair completely. We're similar. Noah Schultz is one for me still. I still think that Noah Schultz is upside and who he can be as a pitcher. I still think he's coming into I don't think he's even fully shown 100% of Noah Schultz.
Right.
So that's why I still think he's number one, and I still think that he has a legit ace upside profile, which I don't think anybody else on this list necessarily has. I have Kyle Teal at 2, and then Braden Montgomery at 3, so I have them flipped for you. I think that's what you hit it. You hit it kind of when you were explaining it. I think that in general, if Teal is going to be catching at an above average level at the big leagues, then I like his profile to really be a high end big league player because we saw him in the outfield for Danny the other day too. But Teal can be at least a good catcher. I think the offense has come along a lot. I think we've started to see that power really shine through at the end of his AAA stint. It hasn't quite showed at the big leagues yet, but I do really think that Teal is going to be a high quality big league catcher for some time to come. And then Braden Montgomery at 3, I haven't changed my tune on him. I still think Braden Montgomery could easily be 2 sooner than later. And I think Teal's going to graduate anyway, so I think Montgomery will be the 2 spot for me come the actual time where these rankings come out. But I think that Braden Montgomery, he's had his ups and downs. He's starting to settle back into high A a little bit. He definitely looks more like himself the last couple of weeks after that really rough stretch. It's just been a little streaky, right? It's been a streaky season for him. But I do still think that's a starting outfielder of the future, the right fielder of the future for the White Sox, and someone who I think we're gonna be talking about a lot when he has those weeks and those stretches where he just catches fire. And he's gonna be that guy. I think there's gonna be times where we get a week or two from Braden Montgomery where we're like, man, this is a top 20 prospect in baseball. And there's also gonna be weeks where it's like, okay, this guy looks really bad at the plate right now. Still kind of finding that and figuring it out. But again, this is only month 3 of him playing baseball for the first time in a year. No, over a year, right? So not worried about him at all. Hagen Smith at 4, same thing for me. I'm curious to see what happens. Did you catch some of those clips from the White Sox talk pod with Chuck and
I did. And Brian? Yeah,
interesting stuff for sure. It definitely sounds like Hagen Smith is valued. They love him. They want him to be a future stud for this team. But they're kind of tearing his mechanics down a little bit and just his biomechanics and the way he moves his body and utilizing his strengths. And I love that. I think that the White Sox are being proactive, and they saw that he wasn't quite himself. He saw his velo was down. They saw his body just wasn't being maximized. And they said, you know what? Screw it. Take a month off. Right. Get you to Arizona. We're going to work on everything we need to work on. And then when you're ready, we'll get you back up into the minors and get you more innings because he's not going to he doesn't need to debut this year either way. And even if he does for a couple innings out of the bullpen, sure. It's not about this year. The same thing with Schultz. Right. This is about next year and beyond for these guys. Taking the time now to get Hagen's mechanics in the best possible place. Very good approach from the White Sox. I'm hoping there's no deeper injuries to it, and it's just that.
Yeah.
If it's just truly reworking his body and making sure to maximize who he is as a pitcher, I'm all for it. And I still think he's a great pitcher. He's number 4 for me. Caleb Bonner is number 5 for me.
I'm 6.
I'm ready to say it. I don't. I think I still am not out on Colson. I'm sick of people with the comments of whoever the people that comment Colson's a bust, all that stuff. Like, I don't need to hear it. I'm still thinking Colson's
Yeah.
going to be a big league player. I still am confident Colson's going to be a big league MLB player. I really do think that. But Caleb Bonnemer has just done everything that he's needed to do, even in the cold last week or two for him. Like,
Right.
he's just showed me everything he needs to show me this season to believe that he can be a high end MLB infielder, whether it's at third or whether it's at short. And Caleb Bonnemer has done everything you could ask for him as a rookie, coming out of high school, going straight into single A. Like, it's just excellent stuff from Bonnemer this season, and that earned him the 5 spot on my top 30 right now.
Yeah, I think that Caleb Bonnemer is probably the best high school or the best looking high school player that the White Sox have had immediately, like
Yeah.
in a very long time. Like I can't remember the last time a high school prospect that the White Sox drafted looked this good, this quick.
This
Like
quick, yeah. It's been a
yeah,
bit.
Colson Montgomery was good, and like we knew he was good. I mean, Caleb Bonnemer, a second round pick. The White Sox haven't had many second round picks on top 100 lists in 4 months into their, not even that, 3 months into their big league careers.
It's been a bit, man. It's been a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's where my top 5's at. Starting with some risers. I mean, obviously we talked about Bonnemer there. That's a guy who's been rising for sure. Past that, who are some of the guys in your top 10 to 15 that we're seeing, really take a step up from where they were at in the preseason rankings? I'm going to pull up our FutureSox preseason as well, just so we have the reference there.
Right. I know who's my guy, and I might have been a little bit too down on him preseason, and yet was still the high man on him because Javier Mogollon jumps 8 spots for me into my 12 spot. He was 20th preseason. Yeah, I it's maybe a bit aggressive. I don't know, but I think I might have been the only guy to rank him at FutureSox. I don't know.
I had him in my top 30. He was just the back of it. Yeah,
okay.
I had him.
So yeah, I was aggressive then, and he's proving me right so far. I mean, there's a lot to like in his game. He just seems to always hit the ball hard in the air on the pull side. Like that's pretty much all you want from a big league player of his size, because home runs are going to be hard to come by for a player that's 5'9" on a good day, maybe. Like, I'm not going to say he's Jose Altuve, but like there's a lot of things that Jose Altuve does that Javier Mogollon also does. Like he pulls fly balls in the air, and he's an undersized second baseman. And Mogollon has looked great on the bases and on defense too. Like that's a very underrated aspect of his game is his defense. And yeah, he's most likely going to be a second baseman long term. I don't think that there's really any doubt in anybody's mind that he's anything but a second baseman, but like he's looked very good at second base. The middle infield pairing of him and Bonnemer has been pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I like Mogollon a lot. He's 17 for me, so not quite as high as you, and you've been the high on man on him for a while, but a top 20 prospect for a guy who's 5'6", and he's not going to – he's just an impressive player, honestly, man. I mean, I was really impressed with him in Arizona this spring when I got to see him in person and just see the twitchiness of the bat speed and just the way he moves and just the fluidness for a guy of that age and that size. I just think it's been an up and down season. The past few weeks, at least for him, he's settling back in from that injury. Hasn't been great. But all things considered for Mogollon, I think that's a very justified riser for you. Even if I do have him a little bit lower, I still think, he's earned a clear top 30 spot and, a pretty clear top 20-ish spot, in my opinion.
Yeah. Who's your biggest riser?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him earlier. We talked about him a lot. Sam Antonacci. I don't even know if he's my biggest riser just because he was already high for me. Right now, I have him 10th in the system, which it might be a little aggressive. I think it might be a little aggressive for sure. But I just don't think there's a better contact hitting bat to ball high end approach guy in the system. I think that you're going to get quality at bats out of Sam Antonacci every day. And we've seen Winston's offense completely revolve around his energy at the top of that lineup and just the way he approaches at bats, what he brings to the table, and just everything he's been able to do in these past, 3 months, and even at the beginning of the end of last year in September, like he's just shown to me that he's a guy who is going to be a big league player one way or another, whether it's a utility player or a starting second baseman or a third baseman. I don't know where it's going to be. I think it's probably a second base profile still, but like I just don't know if there's somebody giving you better at bats every day than Sam Antonacci in the system right now.
Yeah, he's done nothing but impress me, and I think we were the only two that he saw. Like he got ranked on preseason for FutureSox. So it's been nice to see the White Sox fandom sort of seeing what we saw. Even like the day he got drafted, we were both like, oh, this is a pretty fun profile. and he's starting to hit the ball harder. Like he's sort of filled out in terms of like strength wise, and he's
The EV
getting to the
up there
yeah,
too.
I
Yeah.
was going to say he's getting to the top end exit velocities a lot better than he was. And I think that he's probably a second baseman long term, but like a profile like that at second base is really fun.
Yeah, 100%. And Arn told me the other day it's 90th percentile exit velo of like 103 right now, which is
Yeah,
not
that's
it's
really
not
good.
elite, right? But like for a guy who's 5'10 and a middle infielder, like you will take that. He had a
Right.
107.7 homer or 105.7 homer the other day. Like he's getting into some of that loft, and it's consistent line drives. It's a lead approach, and just been production. So a guy that was 30th on the consensus FutureSox top 30 at the beginning of the season, I think he's pretty clear top 20 now. I've got him at 10, which I know is going to be higher than anybody else probably, but I do think that he has a very strong case for a top 15 spot in the system right now.
Yeah, 100%. I think that if he's not in the top 20, I would be shocked on like anybody's board, because I just don't think that you can name 20 better prospects than Sam Antonacci right now in the White Sox system. And I have him 13, and you could very easily make a case for him higher than that. You have him 10. I would not be shocked if somebody had him like 9. Like it's a very fun profile.
100%. I want to talk about two pitchers who didn't make our top 30, and it's crazy. And in retrospect, I'm like, damn, there's no way we didn't have them in the top 30.
Right.
But at the same time, they both were coming off really rough seasons last year, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Tanner McDougal and Christian Opper have got to be the two highest rising pitchers in the system. That's for sure. These two are, and somebody just mentioned, Adrian just mentioned Christian Opper as well in the comments. These two are rising as quickly as any pitching prospects in the system. We talked about them earlier. We don't have to get into them too much because we dove into, their profiles earlier. Where are they at for you in this prospect ranking? Because obviously they jump into the top 30 from being just missed guys originally this season, but they're both top 15 for me.
I think that they're just about top 15 for me. I have them both top 20. I have Christian Opper 17 and Tanner McDougal 19. So like they're pretty similar. I think that both of those guys should be within 3 spots, give or take, of each other. I could see if somebody had McDougal above Opper. I could see if Opper was above McDougal. So like it just basically comes down to preference. And I think that the track record of White Sox developing left-handed pitching, especially ones like Opper with a good power breaking ball, is a bit better than the righties with McDougal. There's a lot better of results with the lefties, and I could see if McDougal ends up being the better player out of both of them, but there's a ton of helium in both of their games right now.
Yeah, completely. So I've got them back-to-back at McDougal at 14 and Opper at 15. I think that these guys are clear top 20 prospects in the system. And, pitching is finicky, right? Like it's a complicated thing. And McDougal probably should have been on our list purely from a stuff standpoint, but like it was really ugly last year, right? Like the results were not there last year. And now we're seeing the stuff translated into better command, into better results, into even better stuff, right? So like it's just been a complete awesome development in 3 months for these two, and I think they're both going to keep rising. And I think I had a hard time. I don't know which I have over the other and which I will have over the other in a month from now. I'll have to do some deeper dives. Honestly, I leaned to McDougal on the basis of the fact that he's throwing 99 right now. Honestly, that was the difference maker. Is like this guy's just pumping 99s like nothing right now, and like that is ridiculous. And he's also a level above now too. Only being 22 as well. It feels like he's like 25 because of the time in the system, but he was drafted as a young 18-year-old and is still just 22 within the last, I think he turned 22 in May. So like he's still a pretty young pitcher at the AA level. If he's 22 in AA, if he debuts next year at 23 years old, you're talking about a pretty good development track for a high school draft pick who has had his ups and downs, but is in a really good place right now. So McDougal and Opper being, 14 and 15 for me are definitely the clear risers in the pitching ranks for sure.
100%.
Who else in that next kind of, 15 to 20, 25 range is kind of rising up your board?
We have talked a lot about Matthias Lacombe, so I'm not going to pick him because I feel like we've said enough about him to where people know about him and know how good he is. So I'm going to go with Eduardo Herrera. He was. That's a good one. Did I steal your answer?
I was getting there. I was getting there for sure.
Oh, okay. So
no, I was getting there.
I have him exactly 25 right now, and he did not look great. Oh my God, we're perfect. He did not look great in rookie ball last year, and he's repeating it now, and he looks like he's starting to find it. The strikeouts are still a bit high, but he's also walking a lot and hitting for a ton of power, and that's what he was signed for. He's still 8. Is he 18? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's still 18. So like, there's still a lot of time left for Herrera, and we're starting to see the international prospects that the White Sox are getting. They're starting to actually develop into something not just organization filler.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to rank DSL guys, and he's the only
Yeah,
one I ranked because there's a couple other guys that have very impressive numbers right now in the
yeah,
DSL, but he's the only one I ranked just because he is. The difference for me is like I don't see these guys, like, no, we don't see these
right,
guys, and that's what makes it tricky. It's like I don't want to rank them sometimes because I don't see them, like I don't have footage on Eduardo
exactly,
Herrera, what he's doing in the Dominican Summer League right now. What I do know is he signed for $2 million and he's raking,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
that's where it's like you just kind of have to give that nod sometimes. If I get the chance to get some data on him at some point, I will definitely relay that information because I'm super curious to see what it looks like for him from a data standpoint. But, the top international signing from last year, turning a corner and putting up great numbers so far in the Dominican League, that's something to take notice of. And that's why I put him in my top 30. I don't know where he's going to end up in my top 30. He could drop a little bit. He might be right at the back end of it. But, like,
yeah.
at the same time, like, I think he's a name to at least keep an eye on. And you mentioned Lacombe. That's another one who I had on my list. Luis Reyes, who we talked about earlier. Luis Reyes or Matthias Lacombe? Which one? Who do you have higher right now? Because I have them stacked with each other right now, back to back.
I have Lacombe 3 spots higher. I have
Okay.
Lacombe 20. I have Lacombe 24 and Reyes 27.
Okay.
So
Similar point. I have
yeah,
Lacombe at 21 and then Reyes at 22. So I have them back to back right now.
yeah,
Just because I think that I'm a pitching guy too in general. So I always kind of give the lean to like pitchers with a bunch of stuff over hitters
yeah,
who are producing at an average level, right? Like I also just think there still is a marginal lack of hitting depth in the system. I think there's a lot of hitters who are, you can look at them and say, okay, best case scenario, they're a bench bat, right? Like there's a lot of those profiles, I think, still where it's like I look
right.
at them as a hitter and I'm like, okay, this is maybe a bench piece for a big league team and probably more of a triple A guy and quad A guy potentially, right? Like if they get there, right? So that's why I give the lean to guys with the stuff of Lacombe and of Reyes, right, over a couple of the hitters in the system. A few other risers I'm just looking at. Herrera you took for sure. Galaney debut on your top 30?
Yes, he does. He debuts at 26, so right
Same.
in between.
Wow,
Okay,
man,
yeah,
we're on a heater here
yeah,
with 26. Yeah, but 26 for me as well with Delaney. I mean, he deserves a spot. I think. I think at some point you have to value production, and as much as he's an older guy, it's production, but it's also solid, interesting traits, right? It's powerful
right.
traits, but it's a plate approach. It's a balance, right? He plays first, but he can play some third. He's bounced around. Like it's. I think it's just he's done enough this year to earn at least a back of the top 30 spot.
Yeah, I don't think that he's not going to be in anybody's top 20
Right.
in terms of like
Right.
realistically he's probably back end of the top 30 just
Yeah,
because of his
for sure.
age, but like he's producing at a very very good level, especially for Double A where it's a pitcher dominant league. We've said it a bunch, but like Ryan Galaney is hitting really well for Double A, and he's not striking out a ton, which is something that we saw a lot from Tim Elko when he was having his rise through the minors. But Galaney
Yeah.
is not doing that at all. And I think he could be a very similar archetype to Elko, where, hits well in the minors and the organization just like, well, we have to give him a shot because there's nowhere left to put him. So,
Yep. No, I think it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. I do think that he at least deserves to be in the back of this top 30. A couple more guys that I really haven't finalized my back 10. It's like this is hard. We
yeah,
talked about this off record. Like this is something that is a cool problem, a challenging problem for us, but nonetheless a very cool problem. There's about 20 to 30 guys that I think could slot into that back 10 of this list, right? And that's a
yeah,
cool thing from an organizational standpoint. A lot of guys that may not get anywhere, right? So that's where it's like, I kind of am like torn because I'm like, A, is it a sign of a lack of depth if there's not clear guys that are in the top 30? Or B, it's a sign of a deeper, well rounded system because there's a lot of solid players who could slot into that back 10 of the top 30, right? Like, I think I have a pretty clear 22, 23 names that I think like 100% are on my list. And then that last handful of spots, like I've rotated through a bunch of guys just looking through my notes and
right.
trying to think through where guys are at. There's a couple questions I just want to go through here, and then I got a few more guys in the back of my top 30 to mention. But Jacob Gonzalez, where you got Jacob Gonzalez? Because he moved up a little for me because I had him pretty low at the beginning of the season, and I think he has shown some signs of improvement, especially the past month or so in Birmingham.
I have him 13, so still he dropped a couple spots from where I was at preseason with him, but like he's looking a little bit better in
For
terms
sure.
of like being able to tap into a bit more power. Like the home runs aren't there yet, but like he's consistently hitting extra bases. And the torpedo bat, I know that like it's not a saving grace for humanity, but like Gonzalez was a torpedo bat candidate. He was just catching balls just a tick under the barrel and just beating them into the ground, or they would be hard grounders through the middle, or they would find a fielder's glove. But now he's able to elevate them, and they're finding gaps, or they're finding down the line. So there's signs of improvement there. If he didn't have that like hot streak in the last month or so, he would have dropped even farther. But I think top 15 is a fair place for him. He's not anywhere in the top 10 yet. He could get there if he starts tapping a bit more power, but I think anywhere in like the 12 to 18 range is where
I've got him at 16. So I had him I think I had him at 20 in the preseason. So he's definitely moved up a little bit. Looking at just June for Gonzalez, right? 288, 376, 425, right? Almost an 800 OPS. Pretty solid in general. And then a couple more guys, just a quick mention. We'll zoom through them here. Alejandro Cruz, top international signing, off to a slow start, but it's 10 games in the DSL for a 17-year-old. So not a ton of stock to put in Alejandro Cruz. He's not going to make this list, but come next year, he could easily make this list if he starts popping off in the summer league, right? And then Raul Perez, I have Raul Perez at 11. I have him right behind Sam Antonacci for me personally.
I have him 10. So we just flipped.
Same spot, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, right around there. So a couple more back end guys just to mention, and then we'll wrap it up here. We're almost at an hour. Not that I need to get back to the White Sox game because I just looked at that. I hadn't been watching much of that, but yikes.
Apparently Carroll got ejected.
I will have to look at that later. We'll check that out. But I mean, it seems like not a great game for the White Sox today in Chicago. So, we got a few minutes here. Adrian Heel, I think it might be Luis Heel. My guess is it's Adrian Heel. I don't actually know that. Adrian Heel is kind of raking, dude. This is a guy that I saw in the Arizona this spring, and I liked the swing. I for what it's worth, I saw him hit it in the cages, so it's not you don't get too much of a sense from cages, but I do see him and just look. Here we go. We got the question from Trey here. Appreciate you, Trey, on the complex DSL guys, right? Like this is what we were looking at. So Adrian Heel is the one that I got penciled a little bit here from that group. I think Adrian Heel, hit last year in the ACL, showed some signs, but it was still kind of up and down a little bit for him. Right. This year, you saw the ounces of power too. This year, in 34 games, you already topped his homer total from last year. He's got 5 homers after hitting 4 last year. Generally, just the count is up. He's stealing more bases too, 11 stolen bases across 30 games. Adrian Heel is a guy who, it's an interesting, unique profile, but I think it's solid pop. He's got some exit velos. He's got some power to tap into. He's got some speed, right? It's just kind of a versatile, interesting piece there. But, the way he's hitting right now, still 19 years old all season. I do think that he's going to be a guy who gets up to Kannapolis this season. And honestly, I would like to see him in Kannapolis soon. I think that when you see a Lyle Miller Green get up maybe, or Miguel Santos get up maybe, that's a guy who I think could make his way there pretty soon. And I have him in my top 30, actually, man. I put him at 30.
Ooh, okay.
I just I like the profile. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what it's calling to me. I need to get into some data for him, but I like what he's doing right now. And I think, at 19, you're seeing a lot of positive signs, and he's going to be 19 this whole season too. So I think we get him into Kannapolis. That would be nice to see. Anybody else in that we've got some DSL guys, and a few mentioned here, 2 different mentions of Yobel Rodriguez. I know that we're probably going to get there.
Yeah, the 3 that are on the screen right now, Frank Mieses, Yordani Soto, and Yobal Rodriguez, those are the exact 3. Like Trey stole them from my mouth. Like those 3 were the guys that I was going to highlight. Yobal Rodriguez, I still think he has not given up a run, and he's got he's only allowed 3 or so base runners. And then Yordani Soto's batting 444, 545 on base, 1064 OPS, 6 walks to 2 strikeouts in 9 games, 27 at bats.
Also, 16 years old.
Yeah, sold 7 bases too. 7 bases in 9 games.
Huh. So, I got to look into Yordani Soto a little bit. I've seen the numbers, but I haven't done any dives on him really yet. So that's something we want to check out.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting one. And then Luis Mieses is another White Sox prospect. Frank Mieses, batting 323 with a home run, 11 walks to 8 strikeouts. It's a 984 OPS. I believe he's 17. Yeah, 17. 6'1", 170 as his listed weight. So it's a decent frame for an outfielder. He's been playing a lot of center and batting 3 in just the box scores that I've seen. But they're a long ways away. But those guys are some ones to keep an eye on. And Alexander Albertus is alive. He is in Arizona, and I think he's been playing. He's been playing like parts of games. He's been getting subbed out of games like towards the latter half, but for whatever reason, I don't know why. Yeah, but like he's doing well. I think he's still hitting over 300. More walks and strikeouts. Last time I checked, like a couple days ago. But he's alive. He's playing baseball, and he's somebody to watch. I think he's going to be inside my top 20, 25-ish, somewhere in that range, because just his upside is still sky high, even after the surgery, where it looked like he had a good chunk of his leg cut open. He's still got a ton of upside, and it would make that Eric Fetty, Michael Kopech trade look like a really good trade for the White Sox.
Yeah, I've got him at the very back of my top 32. I think I have him at 28 or 29 right now. So we'll see what happens. You got to just see him healthy. Like I do think it's a fun player. I just you need to see some games out of him and some good games out of him. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'd be awesome if he could just for himself too. It seems like it's been a long road for him. Like if he could get to Kannapolis this year, even just for a month or two at the end of the season, that would be really great to see him get back to that single A level. So yeah, man. I mean, I like the DSL and the ACL are so tricky, but I'm so excited to see what I'm just gonna, just see where some of these guys go. I think that there hopefully is a next wave of White Sox talent in the international, ranks that is a step up from what we've seen in the past. And, there's a lot of
100%.
interesting players to keep an eye on. So we'll definitely be tracking these guys' numbers. But yeah, like you said, Rodriguez, Soto, Maesis, some really, really good numbers off the bat here. Obviously a limited sample in the Dominican League, but I'm excited to see. Yeah, I'm excited to see where some of those guys go. And like we said, we'll keep an eye on all of the everything going on with the top 30, the draft. Hopefully I'm going to get Pete Flaherty on here in the next week or two. That's my guy at Baseball America who does really good draft coverage. So excited to hear from him soon. But yeah, it's been good. It's fun. This is a good time, man. It's July is, in my opinion, some people, maybe because I've never actually experienced fun playoff baseball, maybe that's part of it. But I will say July is probably my favorite month of baseball, aside from the World Series and such, whenever that may happen when the Sox are competing there. But July is fun.
Eventually.
No, it's so much fun. The draft, the home All-Star week, getting to trade deadline stuff that is the draft and trade deadline is the best time of year in my opinion. And I just love talking about it, diving into it and everything. So we'll be rolling here. We're gonna get a lot of fun episodes going. We'll obviously be doing I believe we'll be doing a draft stream. Maybe I don't know if I'm gonna be around actually. We'll be doing something for draft coverage, and we'll keep you updated. And thanks everybody for tuning in and interacting and hanging out with us on the roundup here.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Appreciate you all. Have a good one. Take care.